What's up, Duval? It's your favorite Jag, Bucky Brooks, and this is Bleav in Jags, a podcast dedicated to all things Jacksonville Jaguars. And I got to tell you, if I sound a little edgy, if I sound a little excited, it's because we got a preseason game a few days away, and the old player in me remembers the anxiety and the nerves and all that kind of building up as you get ready to play that first preseason game. And if you're a guy, not if you're a starter and you know you're going to kind of be around, but if you're a bubble guy, if you're a young guy trying to make the team, if you're a veteran trying to hold on to your spot on the team, a lot of guys would come to the game and they'll talk about, oh, it doesn't matter, just guys that won't play in the regular season playing. But let me tell you, the players that are at the bottom of the roster, they are playing for their NFL lives. And so that intensity to them is going to be Super Bowl like because they know what is on the line. So I always have a ton of respect for players that are kind of chasing that dream during the preseason. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about some of that stuff that we should probably look for in that first preseason game. We're going to talk about the recent comments that Doug Peterson and Ryan Nielsen have made at their pressers. I'll try and sift through some of the coach speak to kind of give you the skinny, and then we'll just kind of get excited about what is to come when they tee it off Saturday night at 7 o'clock. It should be a lot of fun. But first, let's pay off the sponsor, Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything online sports betting. Right now, you can receive a 50% free bet of up to $250 on your first deposit to bet on anything from the Olympics to baseball to Formula One racing. Bet Online has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads while games are being played. When the game is over, head on over to our online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker, unwind on one of our over 150 slot games. Head over to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code Bleav, BLEAV, for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit of up to $250. Bet Online. The game starts here. And I told you guys, I'm really excited. There's nothing more that I love than when than when preseason games finally kick off. And I know they don't count, but they certainly do matter. And the reason why I say they matter is you can get a good feel for your team based on how they play. And I'm saying don't look at the final score, don't even look at the stat sheet. But when you're watching the game, do you see some simple things that are being done to make you feel optimistic about your team? So, is the team getting lined up? Do they look like they know what they're doing, or do you see a bunch of defenders with their hands up, not knowing what's going on, and so they kind of look like they're running around with a lack of direction? Offensively, do you see the ball getting to the proper places? Do you see a high level of efficiency from the quarterback in the passing game? Meaning, we used to have old saying, the ball shouldn't hit the ground. So do you see guys stringing together completions? Do you see the quarterback being able to throw on time and comfortably from the pocket? Or is he running around having to make sandlot type plays to generate offense? When you look at the running backs in the running game, do you see them getting yards beyond the line of scrimmage, meaning they're getting their own yards because the offensive line has done a really good job of securing the trenches, or our running backs have to move and make moves in the backfield to try and get to the line of scrimmage because the offensive line is so leaky. So execution matters. It won't be perfect because you're going to have a bunch of young players playing in their first NFL game, and the speed of the game is different. When I stepped into the league, veteran players used to say, hey, man, there are 4 game speeds when it comes to playing this game at the NFL level. There's preseason speed, which is much faster than what you ever experienced in college. Then there's regular season speed, which is even faster than what you can experience in preseason because now the games matter. So the intensity is up. There's playoff speed where now we're playing for an opportunity to advance, and it is win or go home. So there's a level of desperation that ups the intensity. And then there's Super Bowl speed, where when you get to that final game and everything is on the line, it's far more it's far more physical, it's a lot faster. Everything has major consequences. So the pressure brings about the best in most players. So every time you look at a game in those, in those ranges, when you talk about preseason, regular season, postseason, then Super Bowl, it all goes up. And so we'll see a lot of young players kind of overwhelmed by the speed, tempo, and pace of the game early. then they'll settle in and kind of get comfortable playing the game. And hopefully, as a young player, you hope that you settle down quickly and you just get back to playing ball, just like you played in Pop Warner, like you played in high school and in college. As soon as you can settle in and just treat the game like you've always treated the game, that's when the positive results will happen. And so all the coaches will be looking for that. They'll be looking to see how many guys are able to take what they've done in practice and allow it to carry over in games. They will pay close attention to this first game because no matter what coaches tell you, like we haven't been evaluating, it's just open competition. We're just going to kind of see how it is. Everything changes when the game starts. This is the first game, and the depth chart is going to radically change after this game. Guys that you felt great about during the spring and OTAs and those things, they may underperform because when the pads come on and it's real, they just can't get it going. There are guys who've kind of been dogs who haven't looked great throughout practice and they don't appear to have it together. You will see them on game day and you'll see them hit a switch and all of a sudden they look like a completely different player. What coaches are trying to do is they're trying to let everyone know we love what you did in practice, but ultimately everybody in this league is judged by how they perform on game day. So that first preseason game, look, it doesn't count. But it certainly does matter as it comes to shaping the way your roster is going to be, shaping the depth chart, and giving guys more opportunities in games 2 and 3. But a lot of it is you got to come out fast. You got to make an impact right away to give yourself an opportunity to remain in the rotation in weeks 2 and 3. Before we really dig into the preseason, let's talk about some of the comments from the coaches that we've heard throughout the course of the week. I'm going to work my way backwards. Ryan Nielsen spoke the other day, and he was talking about the defenses right before day 12 of practices. And the thing that everybody has seen and everyone who has been to a practice, everyone around the team who has talked about practices and the events, they all talk about the energy and the enthusiasm for the defense. The calling card that Ryan Nielsen had when he came over was he was going to bring a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, but he was going to really bring a great attention to detail. Knowing Ryan Nielsen, knowing Chris Richard, knowing how they played for Pete Carroll at SC, and then the relationship that they continue to have with Pete Carroll in the pros and the success that Pete Carroll had utilizing a very simplistic approach on defense, you were optimistic that some of that was going to carry over to what they decided to do in Jacksonville. And I can tell you that during my time there, when I was there for a week, you could see it kind of coming together. Defense flying around. There's not a lot of thinking. Guys getting their hands on a ton of balls, batting passes down, picking off passes, creating turnovers and splash plays. Look, there's a rhyme and a reason for why those things are happening. When you don't have to do a lot of thinking and you can just play, you can play faster because now you're just reacting. You're not overthinking, you're not guessing, you're just playing. And my sense was this defense was really going to fit the young players. We talked about the young players before. I think I mentioned it on the last podcast, like the 5 guys on defense that it really would impact and why the defense is really built for those young players. I stand on that. I stand on that comment because I Bleav this simple version of defense is going to allow the best players to play at a high level. Nielsen talked about attacking with hustle and effort and how you want to make sure you want to do the things that take no talent. You want to dominate those things because that gives you a chance. And so hustle and effort, it doesn't take any talent to give your best. It doesn't take any talent to make sure that you are always finishing at the ball and doing things the right way. The see ball, get ball simplicity of the defense should allow you really to focus on just playing hard and outworking and outlasting the competition. The other thing that I would say that the simple or the simplicity of the scheme has done is it's removed, I would say, some of the gray area that might have existed in the previous scheme. Now everyone knows there may be a couple of defensive fronts, a handful of blitzes, a handful of different coverages, but now you can get to the mastery part of it. And they're at the point of training camp where now they're 4 weeks in, they still got a few weeks left, where Ryan Nielsen talked about we're now in the same as part of installation, meaning the blitz pattern is the same. And so when you're so you have the same blitz, right? Let's just say it's a smash blitz where you're sending someone off the edge. You got a guy long sticking to the A gap and then someone hitting the B gap. That's what is called America's blitz. Well, when you do it without base personnel, they may call it smash. And then if you do it out of your nickel personnel or your dime personnel, same blitz pattern, but you may call it dasher because you bring the dime and all this other stuff, but the pattern is the same. You just have different people executing it. A lot of times when you stall it in that fashion, the defense coordinator is like, hey, we're going to put in dasher in. I just want you guys to know this is same as smash, but we're doing it with the DBs. And then everyone will look and the lineman will be like, oh, okay, coach, we got it. They're at that part of training camp. And the beauty of being at that part of training camp when it comes to the install calendar, you now can just focus on getting better. You're doing the same things over and over and over again. That breeds about consistency and mastery. And ultimately, when you're consistent and you master what you're being asked to do, that's when the big plays happen, which is why you can hear about all these defensive backs picking off passes. Andre Cisco picking off 3 passes in a practice session where he picked off Trevor, CJ Beathard, and took care of Mac Jones. That's what you want to hear because they're really getting it. And to that point, I've told you guys that I'm really bullish on Andre Cisco. I Bleav this system is tailor-made for a guy with his aptitude and talents. And it is not a coincidence that he is making a ton of plays in camp. As someone who watched him at Syracuse before his injury, have 13 interceptions, and look like one of the more natural ball hawks as you would see on the collegiate level, this scheme should unlock that and allow him to really go get it. And so I'm excited that he is getting his hands on ball. I'm excited to see him picking off passes. I'm excited to hear what the young DBs are doing because it seems like all of these guys are taking turns getting after it, making plays. And I also love the fact that Ryan Nielsen said that's the expectation every day. Once they start to make plays, we expect them to make plays all the time. And this defense is really going to live or die by the way the secondary holds up. I love to hear that they're playing well. I love to hear that they're making plays on the ball because ultimately making plays on the ball is going to lead to turnovers, and turnovers are the biggest thing that tip the balance of games. It's the number one deciding factor in who wins and who loses. And so the fact that the defense is stepping up and making plays, I absolutely love it. Final thing about what we're hearing from the defense, Ryan Nielsen touched on this. He talked about the excellent communication that is going on amongst the defenders. And he cited Foye Luakan. He talked about Andre Cisco. He also brought up Ron Darby and how those guys, the veterans, are really doing a great job of not only communicating between the lines in terms of like making sure everyone gets the checks and understands what is about to be played, how they're going to adjust to potential situations, anticipating what's next, but off the field when they go to the sideline, they're beginning to come up with their own answers to some of the problems that the offense may present. Great defenses are player-led defense, player-driven defenses where the players take a significant ownership of the defense. They own the scheme. They know what's going on. They put it on them shoulders to figure it out. And then they use the coach as someone that can give them more tools to help them figure it out. But they're the ones that actually make it happen. Hearing good things about the defense, being able to communicate. These guys like each other. They spend a lot of time with each other on and off the field. And the fact that they are talking and that the communication is really at a high level, man, really optimistic, but it really bodes well for this defense playing well right out the gate. So now let's get to Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson had his presser where he talked to the media for the week, and he kind of outlined the plan for the week when it comes to how long the starters are going to play, what they're going to do, Will Trevor and the defense, how much will they play? And here's what I can tell you, and I know that Doug Peterson learned a lot from his time at Andy Reid. One of the things that Andy Reid has done, not only in Philadelphia, but in Kansas City, he has always been able to get his teams off to fast starts. And one of the reasons why his team has been able to get off to fast starts compared to some other teams is he runs an old school training camp. They are a team that tackles to the ground. They are a team that really puts a lot on the players that they're going to play in the preseason. They're going to play a couple series in each preseason game to get ready for the season. They are not going to have an excessive amount of quote unquote rest days where they're load managing. Football players have to play football to get ready for the season. The Kansas City Chiefs Bleav in that. Doug Peterson believes in that, which is why you're hearing him say The starters are going to play 2 series, maybe 3 series in the first preseason game. He wants those guys to play in game action because what you want to do is you want to make sure the ones have a level of continuity and chemistry going into the regular season. You want to make sure that your quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, is on the same page with the wideouts. You want to feel good that they've had enough snaps in game action to be able to like hit the ground running when they play Miami in week 1. I won't expect to see a lot. I think a perfect scenario for the Jags would be to get the kick, take it down the field in an 8 to 10 play drive. Trevor Lawrence throws a handful of passes. All of your significant names, your notable names, they touch the ball a little bit. So you got Travis Etienne on a couple carries. Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk make a catch or 2 apiece. Gabe Davis may kind of finish it off in the end zone. BTJ may pop up. With the thing, if they do all those things in a 10-play series, boom, those guys are going to get hats and T-shirts and sit down. If they don't, if they struggle a little bit, now you have to play them more. Now you have to get maybe into the deep part of the first quarter before they sit out. So it's in everyone's interest. If you're a veteran player, hey, man, let's do our work. Let's take care of business so then we can get on the sideline and chill for 3.5 quarters. It's about the execution and the execution that you want to see from the offense with Trevor Lawrence. But then on defense, those guys may play a little longer because you want them to have to play in this defense under pressure in a game scenario. And what better team to play against than the Kansas City Chiefs? This is why you want that first defense to play against the Chiefs. They may not play long with their starters, but anytime you have an opportunity to go against Pat Mahomes, it's a measuring stick game. You're seeing the best quarterback in football throw it all over the yard. You get a chance to test your coverage. You get a chance to test your pass rush and see if you can get close to knocking them down, getting to them. And you get an opportunity to measure yourself against a back-to-back Super Bowl champion, even though it's the preseason. Doesn't count, but it does matter because you can gain a lot of confidence if you play well against that team that has hoisted the Lombardi Trophy in each of the past 2 seasons. So that's why it's important for Doug Peterson to play those guys early, to get them 2 to 3 series and to get them out. Now we talked about the young players. So this is the most important game for the young players because it's the first game. And the first game really makes a lasting impression when it comes to who stays and who goes. Not only who stays and who goes, but who eventually joins the rotation with the veteran players who've already kind of carved out their roles that everyone knows, hey, they're not only going to make the team, but they're going to play a significant role. Young players, this is the most that you're going to play in the preseason. There are 3 games. The next game, game 2, is a game where they may or may not play the starters a long time, but you got the practice week where you're going to have the joint practices, and I would expect the starters to command a lot of the attention there. They take a lot of snaps because it's a controlled environment, and you can get them going. You can get them work against an opponent with their number ones, while minimizing some of the risks that are associated with scrimmaging or playing a preseason game and those things. But in week 1, the young players, man, they may have 3.5 quarters to flash and make their mark. One of the reasons why you want to give them 3 quarters is you want the young guys to quickly acclimate to the difference of the game between the college game and the pro game. Speed, field, quarterback play, tight windows, open windows, just getting used to all of that. Secondly, the kicking game really matters. A lot of these guys are going to earn their way onto the team by shining as special teams standouts. So you're going to have the kickoff situation. You have punt return. Can you flash? Can you do something? Kickoff return. Can you do something in those phases that would allow Heath Farwell to say, oh, no, he needs to be a core special teamer. And if you become a core special teamer, that ensures that you can be dressed on game day, but it also gives you an opportunity to get into the game. That's why special teams matter because, man, if you can be one of those guys that they say, like he is irreplaceable when it comes to certain parts of the kicking game, that gives you a chance to get onto the field as a position player because things happen. And before you know it, you find yourself on the field, originally listed as a wide receiver 5, but now because of something, you got to be wide receiver 3. That's why it's really important in these preseason games that you show that you can dominate in the kicking game to give yourself a chance to really get into the real game. The other thing that Doug Peterson talked about and he wants to emphasize going into this game, he's not only talked about the young players playing 3.5 quarters. He wants everyone to get in so they can do the evaluation. So just pay close attention to the guys that are on the kicking units. Let's see how they also fare in their position player roles. How does a guy who's a dominant special teams player, how does he play when he gets out there with the defense? What if we have to elevate him and make him play with the ones? Is he a fish out of water, or is he a special team player only? When you're making these tough decisions, or maybe the last 10 guys on the team, you're having to have these conversations with Heath Farwell and all these other guys. How is he going to help us on the team? Okay, is he going to play special teams? Will he be a core special teamer, or will he be a complementary special teamer, meaning we can put him down and he can run down the field. Maybe he can be a safety, but he's not going to make impactful plays. That has to be a part of the conversation. The other part is you're trying to measure what he can provide as a special team standout versus what his upside is as a position player. Because ultimately, you want guys on the field on offense or defense that can contribute and make things happen on that side of the ball. While we love special teams, guys have to be able to do more if they can get the jersey each and every week. Doug wants to give those guys every opportunity to catch the eye of a coach so they can begin to put them on the field more and develop the trust that you need to actually put that young guy in the game in a high pressure situation. Final thing I want to talk about today, and I think it's funny because Doug Peterson went on my buddy's podcast, his radio show, the Rich Eisen show, and he had great comments about a lot of different things. But the thing that stood out to me is Doug Peterson compared Josh Hines-Allen to former teammate Reggie White. Now, for disclosure, Doug Peterson and I played together on those same Green Bay teams, 96 and 97. Reggie White was obviously the centerpiece of that defense. So to hear Doug Peterson compare Josh Hines-Allen to Reggie White made my ears perk up. My antenna went up. I then heard Doug talk about not playing style, not even saying he's the same player, but he said maturity, his passion, his preparation, the way that he approached practice, the way that he never missed practice to fight injuries, just always available, the consummate pro, the consummate leader, and just a caring guy who really made the locker room better as the leader of the team. And when he made that comparison to Reggie White, having known Josh Hines-Allen and having watched him, particularly when you're on the sideline, you see a lot of those interactions with teammates when the bullets are flying. I can tell you, man, he is one of those guys that you love to have in place as a leader, as a dominant player, as a guy that keeps it all together. He has all those leadership qualities that you want. When Doug Peterson makes the comparison to Reggie White, he's talking about those things because on a team that had a three-time MVP in Brett Favre, as he won 3 in a row, 95, 96, 97, and was magical in terms of operating the offense and doing those things, Reggie White was the guy that everyone looked at. Reggie White was of exemplary character. Reggie White was consistent, dependable, dominant, all of those things that you want your best players to be. Josh Hines-Allen, while not in Reggie White's category in terms of an elite player, he has shown flashes of being the next one that we talk about and revere. The fact that he has 17 and a half sacks a season ago, the fact that he has kind of figured it out as a pass rusher, even taking time away from his preparation in the building to go outside of the building to find someone to help him with his pass rush to get ready to play an outstanding season. Yeah, this dude has all the qualities. And at a time where we're talking about putting C's on jerseys to represent the team as the captain, Josh Hines-Allen is absolutely a captain. He should be a captain, and he should be able to kind of blaze a path that allows other guys to follow as this team makes its move towards being, I would say, like a playoff team, a division winner, and potentially more, as I Bleav the rest of the league is sleeping on them. But I thought it was nice for Doug Peterson on a national program to go out there and kind of make the comparison that Josh Hines-Allen reminds him of his former teammate, Reggie White, as a player who played on that defense that Reggie White dominated. Man, I throw my hands up because from a personality and a leadership standpoint, it is absolutely in line with who Josh Hines-Allen is. Now it continues to double up and put up those lofty sack numbers. Then we can have another conversation in terms of where he stacks as one of the elite pass rushers in this game. So there you have it. Just a little taste about what's going on in Jacksonville, a little thought on Ryan Nelson and Doug Peterson and how they're really excited about this team, excited to see this unit go and make things happen on Saturday against Kansas City Chiefs. I'll be in the building. I'll be on the call. Preseason TV, Brian Sexton and I will be in the booth, kind of bringing you all that action on the Jaguars and really beginning to talk about the expectations that we should have on this team as this team looks to bounce back from a disappointing finish to the 2023 season, to have maybe better results in 2024 as the team is more connected and ready to go. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe to the podcast. You guys are doing a really good job of doing that. I can feel and see the community expanding. I appreciate all the love from the Jaguars fans. Like hitting me up on X and those things. Continue to hit me up at Bucky Brooks on X. But make sure you continue to hit all my colleagues up on the Bleav Network. Go to the YouTube channel, check out all the great stuff that we're doing. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe to not only this podcast, but maybe the other ones. Sometimes you want to check out what other teams are doing as we are kind of positioning ourselves to make a postseason push. Until next time, maybe we'll be able to get one out maybe on Friday before the game. We take a look at maybe 5 notable guys we want to watch in preseason game number 1. So maybe we'd pop that out on Friday. But then, next week on Monday, we're going to have to talk about it. So make sure you keep it locked on Bleav in Jaguars. I'm Bucky Brooks. Until next time, have a good one.